Okay, good morning everybody. This is my third U2 live broadcast. The first two were experimental. And first of all, let's see how we can reverse the camera, because you don't need to be seeing me. What we're down here to see are the purple martins and the general area. So, okay, I guess I hit the button over here. That turns the camera. Let's try that. Yes. Okay, very good. Well, what a difference a day makes. The temperature digits have switched in 24 hours. Yesterday out here at our home on Eastern Long Island, it was 85 degrees in the afternoon. This morning it's 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So what a swap. But this is more typical of mid to late May. I mean, the 85 degree weather is really more like warm days in July. Well, we have a cool northeast breeze blowing right now. I guess the time is not quite 10 a.m. here. The birds are active now. Let me see if I can zoom, because this is pretty interesting for me at least. I put nesting material in that tray. You see the bird just flew up from that platform. I put dry pine needles in there to supplement their nest building. And when the birds see that, they fly down and they grab strands of the pine needles to take up and refurbish their nests. We start them off with pine needles in all of the cavities of the houses, but they have to do their own housekeeping, so it makes it easier on them. And the theory is, if the birds, the martins, have to expend less energy searching for building materials or things like that, and more energy into snaring insects, especially when it comes time to feeding the little ones in the nest, then the survival rate goes up exponentially. So little tricks of the trade of being a purple martin landlord here that I've acquired over the years, decades as a matter of fact. We've been doing this for over 35 years now. And we try to help our feathered friends who come here to visit us every summer after their winter in Brazil. I'm looking right into the direction that the wind is coming, so you may be picking up some wind noise on the audio. Although I do have my external microphone plugged in and clipped to my jacket, and that microphone has a little noise reduction mitten on it, wind sock or wind mitten they call it on them, so it helps a little bit. Well, let's take a walk down a little closer and see what this is all about. I'm starting to switch over to do U2 Go Live broadcasts. Probably 6 of YouTube and 6 of Periscope. I've been doing exclusively Periscope broadcasts for the last year and a half. But this week, 3 days ago, YouTube Live was made available for those of us with less than 1,000 subscribers. I think I have about 610 followers or subscribers on my YouTube channel. Anyway, I noticed a tweet from one of my Periscope friends in New York City, Mary NYC1, who said YouTube lowered its requirements. So if you had less than 1,000 subscribers, they were rolling that feature out to those of us at those levels. Turned on my iPhone, called up the YouTube app, and what do you know, there was the Go Live button. So we did a few practice tries at it, We still need more practice. One thing I haven't figured out yet, and it may be just operator error here, or it may be a defect that YouTube has to correct, but Periscope had the feature in there of video stabilization. So you notice right now I'm holding my iPhone in my hands horizontally, and this is an iPhone 7 Plus, so it's the slightly larger version. And you know, how steady can you be by holding a camera in your hands rather than on a tripod? So you're seeing in the video, you're going to see some camera jitter or bounce. In other words, look, I'm holding it with two hands now, 2 fingers and 2 thumbs. Now if I just hold it in my right hand, see, I lose the steadiness of holding it. That's just holding the iPhone with one hand horizontally. Maybe that has to do with age factor here. Maybe you younger people can hold your iPhones a lot steadier than those of us up in our late 70s can. But anyway, I would think they would want to add video stabilization in there, unless it exists already and I just haven't figured out what switch to hit, or you know, something like that, what command to call up. I know in the Periscope broadcasts, I seem to recall maybe I had to turn on video stabilization function in the main menu somewhere. And all of my Periscope broadcasts, regardless of whether the iPhone is bouncing up and down, are smoothed out. So hopefully we can figure that out for YouTube Live. Okay, birds. Beautiful sky in the background with the dappled cloud cover. Again, it's, say, 58, 68, 78. About 27 degrees cooler than it was yesterday here. But this is getting back more toward normal temperatures, 60 to 65 range. Nice if it gets up close to 70. Let's just pan around here since the birds are just kind of quiet on the houses, so we'll just look at the scenery here. This is looking toward the south, out toward the Atlantic Ocean, which is about 2 miles south of us. Maybe not quite that distance. You go across Moriches Bay, about 1.75 miles or so, 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles. And then you have the Fire Island Barrier Beach, about 1/4 to 1/3 of a mile wide. And then on the other side of that is the Atlantic Ocean. So if I zoom in on that, you can see above those pilings, you can see that ribbon of land running left to right. That's the Barrier Beach, aka Fire Island. But here it's part of Smith Point County Park, and it remains wild land there. You can take your campers down in along there and camp out. No, correction, there's a campsite at the east end of the park, but you can take your 4-wheel drive vehicles down to go fishing or swimming, maybe down at Great Gun Beach. But it's not developed, so that's the good part of it. Again, this is looking south-southwest, and you can see the neighbor's flag is blowing out of the northeast. Maybe 8 miles an hour or so, something like that, 8 to 10 range. A little bit of a breeze. Okay, we're still getting, okay, I see what I would have to do. That's a function of how I have my iPhone set up for notifications of coming in, messages coming in. So messages are popping up on my screen here that Sam Jones is now live on Periscope, or, you know, things of that nature. So I guess if I don't want those to appear during a YouTube live broadcast, I guess I just have to turn off notifications temporarily. But we'll figure these things out. Trial and error. So to Dutch Mars, if you're following me, Dutch, you said you were going to go to YouTube live broadcasts here for a while. I don't hope, we're not giving up totally on Periscope. We'll see how it goes. But I have to practice with this and try to get better. But we'll keep doing Periscope broadcasts also, and I hope many of the people who follow me on Periscope can follow me on my YouTube channel. As I said earlier, I have over 600 subscribers on my YouTube page. Okay, birdies, do your thing up here for everybody. Let's see what we're doing here. We're just resting. When they see some insects fly by or swept by in the wind, then they'll take off and grab a bite to eat. There goes one, ready to go out. They're eagle eyes spot insects that we humans would never see. And they'll take off and they'll grab a flying insect out of the air and then have themselves a mid-morning meal. And that's how they feed. 99.9% aerial insectivores, taking food on the wing, on the fly. Purple martins, North America's largest swallow, who are now back at our sites here, our colonies, for the breeding season for the next couple of months. And they'll be with us for the rest of the spring and into the summertime, and then they'll start their journey back to South America around the middle of August. All right, quiet Saturday morning in May here on the eastern end of Long Island. For those of you who don't know where we are, we're about 65 miles east of New York City, east of Midtown Manhattan, New York, on the south shore of Long Island, New York, Suffolk County. Very nice area. Considered to be semi-rural. It's not suburbia. It's not really rural anymore as it was a generation ago or so. Although there still are farms in the general area. It's about at the fringe of the commuting distance to New York City for anyone who commutes on the train, because it's about a 2-hour train trip from here to Penn Station in Midtown Manhattan. Although I did that trip yesterday morning, I went in for, just not for work, for pleasure, to walk in Brooklyn, do my city walks that I do. So we took a 5:08 a.m. train in, and we got to the city at 7:05. And then we took the 11 o'clock train home. Some people do it every day, commuting to work back and forth, so 4 hours on the train. That's a bit much. Okay. We'll just pan around slowly. Oh, the other thing I learned in my 2 experimental YouTube live broadcasts the other day, and of course, not a genius, I just looked this up on the internet. Hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? So this applies to Facebook Live, but what I was reading, the articles, but it applies now to YouTube Live. If you want to have a broadcast as we are now in the panorama mode or landscape mode, you have to start the broadcast that way. You have to have your device held horizontally, as I'm holding my iPhone right now. You can't rotate between horizontal and vertical once the broadcast starts. You'll get an error message on your screen. Let me do it right now. I'm going to show you what happens. We won't go to a portrait view here. What we will do is we will turn the picture 90 degrees. Watch this. Okay, see that? And there's a red flag on my screen now, and it reads, orientation is locked. Rotate device back. Okay. So there I go. The icon with the red icon with the lock disappears. And now we're back to broadcasting the picture in the horizontal or landscape mode. Likewise, if I wanted to do a broadcast in portrait mode, then I would have to start the broadcast out with the camera being held vertically. And okay, so you'd get, the tall, narrow, broad video picture. And if I wanted to rotate then to the horizontal mode or to landscape mode, I can't. I'd get the same warning. Rotation is locked, blah, blah, blah. So it's either or, depending upon how you start out. It depends upon what you're doing with your broadcast. Now here we want to take in as much visual matter as possible to see the scenery around here, what's going on. On the other hand, if you were broadcasting, say, people, maybe you had one or two folks you wanted to broadcast about, I suppose then you could start off with the iPhone held vertically in the portrait mode. That would be the video going out. But for my purposes, I'm going to stick with landscape broadcasts. Alright, see, and I still have indication that we're live. Up in the upper left hand part of the screen it has live. Let's see what happens when I hit this little button over here. Oh, okay, those are your turning the hues and everything of it, so we'll hit the normal button again. Okay, turn that off. What other features do we have? This looks like a little text button. Chat viewing options. None. Hide chat. Show. Let's hit the show button. Okay. Well, maybe it was hit already. It was already blue. Of course, there's the camera reversal button. What's this other button over here? These three dots on the right. Share, enable flash, mute microphone, and cancel. Okay, well we don't want to mute the microphone, or unless people don't want to hear me. So we'll just hit the cancel button. And obviously the other one is to reverse the camera thing. So let's just hit that for a minute. Okay, here's yours truly, standing here out in the front, but let's get rid of that. Let's go back to the view. All right, so that pretty much is what I see of the controls of YouTube Go Live. Again, my major concern, and it may just be that I have to educate myself, is where would be video stabilization to help with camera bounce or jitter, because you cannot really hold your iPhone steady that well, or at least I can't. I'm learning a different grip version right now. What I'm doing is I have the iPhone held horizontally in my right hand, and I'm grabbing the lower left-hand corner of the iPhone with my thumb and fingers of the left hand. So that seems to steady it a little bit. But we ought to be able to do that electronically. Oh no, here come those geese back. We have to watch out for those. There's a family of geese that come through here, and we have to chase them away with a broom, because there's nothing worse than goose droppings all over the place, and you run the risk of tracking them into the house. Let's see if I can zoom in on them. All right, that's max zoom. Let me just steady the camera. Right in the center of the image, to the left of that split rail fence, you may be able to see the six little goslings and 2 parent geese. There's a couple of swan families on the creek right now within the last week. Here, let me zoom out. One swan pair has, I believe, 3 or 4 cygnets, and the other one had 6. Although I think one didn't survive, so they're down to 5. But we will see the swan families swimming by here on occasion. Okay, purple martins, you're up there. Beautiful sky background this morning with the sun breaking through. It's starting to break up and you're getting more and more sunlight. So hopefully we'll get up into the mid-60s today, but we are certainly not going to have our 85-degree temperature that we had yesterday. And in the city, it was into the 90s again, but I left New York before noontime. I was doing my walks in the city between 7:30 a.m. and 10:30 before it really got too hot in there. We went to Brooklyn and we walked along the Brooklyn Promenade and then down to Brooklyn Bridge Park, and then we took everybody for a walk over the Brooklyn Bridge back to Manhattan. And I was doing live Periscope broadcasts for that. I could have done YouTube broadcasts, but I did Periscope yesterday. So if anyone is interested in seeing that on Periscope in the archives, you can go to my Periscope channel, which is Redstone Soldier, all one word. But the YouTube channel I use, I don't use the Google designation. I use the old YouTube designation, which I started, God, I don't know, 10 years ago or whenever YouTube started, of JKR SpecNet. That's the channel name for my YouTube videos. I think there's almost 900 of them up there, something like that. Okay, so call this a YouTube Go Live broadcast of showing the martins, the general area, and also call it a research and development YouTube live broadcast. Third experimental broadcast with YouTube Live. So we're going to finish up now, everybody, and I'm going to go in the, well, I could do it on my iPhone, but I'll go in the computer and look at it on my YouTube channel. See how this video uploaded, how it looks, and how it sounds. And I will keep practicing to make the broadcast better and perhaps a little more professional looking. Alright, so there's a mistake on my part right there, okay? I got my finger temporarily in front of the camera. So that's what you saw there. Alright, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody now. So take care, folks, and thanks for joining. And watch me on replay.